Good morning, I'm Diane Macedo. Thanks for streaming with us. In today's update, as coronavirus cases rise across the country, a new outbreak has hit the White House. At least 5 staffers in Vice President Mike Pence's circle have tested positive, including his chief of staff, Mark Short, who was with the vice president on every campaign stop last week. The vice president's office says he and the second lady tested negative this morning. With just 8 days to go until Election Day, the vice president will continue his campaign travel as planned. A spokesman says that is in accordance with the CDC guidelines for essential personnel, but critics say campaigning should not qualify as essential. And despite some Democratic leaders asking for him not to, Vice President Pence still plans to preside over tonight's Senate vote to confirm Judge Amy Coney Barrett to the Supreme Court. Barrett's confirmation is all but certain, with Senate Republicans overpowering Democratic opposition. If confirmed, she will make history as the Supreme Court justice confirmed closest to an election day. The White House is preparing a celebration for Barrett tonight. That's raising some concerns after her nomination ceremony at the White House last month became a coronavirus super spreader event. White House Chief of Staff Mark Meadows says the event tonight is planned to be outdoors, and they will be encouraging as much social distancing as possible. And a hurricane warning is in effect as Zeta strengthens in the Caribbean. The storm is expected to hit Mexico tonight as a strong Category 1 hurricane. Zeta is then expected to move north and make landfall along the Gulf Coast. Parts of the Gulf Coast are still reeling after Hurricanes Laura and Delta devastated the area. And officials in Utah are warning against a new pledge to avoid testing kids for COVID-19. Some parents are suspected of secretly agreeing to not get sick kids tested for COVID in order to keep schools open. This as cases in the state hit a record high over the weekend. TJ Holmes has that story.
It's part of the so-called mom code, and the Utah Department of Health is warning about the group of parents reportedly pledging not to test their kids for coronavirus in order to make infection numbers artificially appear lower. This is all in an attempt to keep schools and school sports open and avoid quarantine.
If there is a quarantine with a sports team or with any of the other classrooms, they're encouraging each other not to have their children tested.
As a parent, Ginevra Prothero fears community spread if the mom code is encouraged.
This pandemic is not a normal thing. This is a time where we need to really focus on, tracing this virus so we can be able to stop the spread.
She's seen Facebook messages like these. Stay home, don't get tested. And if your child shows COVID symptoms, please keep them home, but do not test. State health officials say it's unknown how many parents are actually taking part, but warn those who do could be contributing to the spread of COVID-19, writing in a statement, testing is a critical element of our response. Identifying cases is a key strategy to limiting the spread of disease in our communities.
It will be very hard to be able to distinguish between just regular everyday winter type illnesses and COVID. They also have to potentially take their child out into a community that could then expose that child.
Emily Daly is a mother of 4 students near Salt Lake City. She's running for the school board. She says while she isn't participating in the mom code, she can understand why some would.
It's not mandated to get tested. That's the thing. And so we need to remember that it is a choice. And you need to make decisions based off of what you feel.
But tracking the virus in Utah is of fundamental importance, especially right now, with record-setting daily case numbers. Over 1,600 cases reported on Saturday alone.
Now, the parents that allegedly have been a part of this, and also the school district, did not get back to us, did not give us comment. And it's also important to keep in mind here that Utah is right now one of the states with the highest positivity rates in the country. They're about at 17%. The national average is about at 6%. So, Diane, right now they are going through it in the state of Utah, and health officials do not want to see anything like this, a mom code, adding to their worries.
Understandable. TJ Holmes with that report. Thanks, TJ. And with Halloween just 5 days away, we know that this year is going to look a little different than usual. As coronavirus cases surge across the country, some cities are banning parades and trick-or-treating. So how can you celebrate safely? Here's Eva Pilgrim.
Halloween may not be canceled, but it's going to look a lot different this year.
We don't want door-to-door trick-or-treating, period.
El Paso, in the midst of a coronavirus surge, tamping down Halloween plans. The city seeing close to 11,000 active cases, hospitals beyond their max, now asking people to stay home for the next 2 weeks to reduce the spread and ease the strain on the hospitals. Beverly Hills approving an urgency ordinance banning trick-or-treating, restricting giving candy, treats, or toys to anyone not in your household, warning rule breakers will be issued citations.
I understand that the disappointment that all children have, but even though it was a difficult decision, it really was the right decision to make in this day and time.
Cities in at least 37 states changing some of their Halloween plans, most canceling community events.
It's very high risk. I do consider it high risk.
In New York City, the city's Halloween parade that usually draws some 50,000 people called off. The mayor saying no to inside trick-or-treating this year.
Thank you.
The CDC putting out a guideline warning people to avoid high-risk Halloween activities like door-to-door trick-or-treating or car-to-car trunk-or-treating, indoor costume parties or haunted houses, and hay rides with people who are not in your household.
Trick or treat! Smell my feet! Give me something good to eat!
Instead, the CDC encouraging people to try lower risk plans like socially distanced pumpkin carving, Halloween scavenger hunts, and if you want to trick or treat, try the one-way version where you pick up wrapped goodie bags lined up at the end of a driveway or edge of a yard.
Now, experts say if you are planning to dress up, think about your costume. You don't want to wear just a generic costume mask. You want to make sure you have a 2-fabric cotton mask, either incorporate it into your costume or just get a Halloween-themed mask to wear. Diane?
All right, Eva Pilgrim, good tips there. Thank you. And for more, I'm joined by ABC News contributor Dr. John Brownstein. Good morning, Dr. Brownstein. Is there a way to trick-or-treat safely this Halloween?
Yeah, so we have to remember this virus is still not under control, right? So we don't want Halloween to be this major event that brings more cases through this country, right? So we have to think about the things that we've been thinking about throughout this pandemic. Social distancing, mask wearing, keeping activities outside, reducing group size. So yeah, it's been a long road, but we want kids to have an enjoyable Halloween. And there are ways to do trick-or-treating in the ways that might be safer. One-way trick-or-treating, parades, scavenger hunts. We just want to avoid these large group settings, especially inside. But we also want to think about sort of underlying context in the community. Places like El Paso experiencing a massive surge. So really listen to public health. If they're giving guidance, really try to adhere to those guidances.
And for anyone who does go trick-or-treating, what precautions should you take? Do you have to wipe down the candy when you get home? What do you need to do?
Yeah, so we really have to be worried here about pandemic fatigue. We're asking a lot of people, and there's this concept of hygiene theater. Are we just going a bit overboard? We know that surface contact isn't a major mode of transmission, so wiping down candy, it's a bit excessive, it's not under the CDC guidelines, and it's just gonna take people away from what's important, right? Hand washing still important. You know, we know that respiratory droplets and aerosols are the important transmission, so you gotta reduce the numbers of contacts. Those are the things to focus on, and try to not be so excessive beyond that.
And what are the most important things to remember as families get ready for Halloween and maybe some of the other holidays? What are your kind of 3 top tips in terms of helping us to prioritize? So we know we don't have to wash the candy. What's more important?
Okay. All right, so more important than washing the candy. So avoid high-risk activities. So, right, the traditional door-to-door trick-or-treating is just probably not on the cards for most people this year. You want to avoid indoor gatherings, right? So the costume parties, haunted houses, really you want to stay outside. And so focus in on those those lower-risk outside activities, right? So the costume parades, pumpkin carving outdoors, scavenger hunts, and these sort of new concepts like one-way trick-or-treating. All those types of activities are much lower risk and will reduce transmission in the community.
All right, Dr. Brownstein, always great to have you. Thank you.
Thank you.
And now for the latest on science and technology headlines, let's go to Mona Kozar Abdi.
In today's Tech Bites, the Justice Department's antitrust lawsuit against Google is reportedly targeting a deal the company has struck with Apple. The New York Times reports Google pays Apple up to $12 billion a year to remain the default search engine on Apple products. Prosecutors argue that deal hurts competition. Remote schooling is helping Chromebooks make big strides on the computer market. Shipments are up 90% over last year. In addition to being less expensive than Windows consoles or Apple MacBooks, Chromebooks also run Google Classroom, which is used by teachers and students. If you're craving McDonald's ice cream, a German software maker has created a website called McBroken. It uses a bot to check the status of every McDonald's ice cream maker in the U.S. He started his project after he tried and failed to order a McSundae. Those are your Tech Bites. Dan, not all heroes wear capes. Back to you.
Got to get that Sunday in. Mona, thanks. And that does it for this ABC News Live update. I'm Diane Macedo. Thanks for joining us. And remember, ABC News Live is here for you all day with the latest news, context, and analysis. Up next, GMA's top stories. I'll see you back here at 3 p.m. Eastern with Terry Moran for the breakdown.
Hi everyone, George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel, and don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.